I brought forward the chart just because it makes it, I think, a little easier to remember the kinds of variables we should be working with as you're looking at study objectives. Now, there is a formula for writing a study objective, and these examples are not exactly right for your master's or dissertation studies. What we want to focus on in this class, and we'll do this over and over again, is the analysis part of the study objective. When a person reads this study objective, they should know immediately what kind of analysis are you going to do. Example 1. To determine if a relationship exists between age and height. So you can see we're going to do something with Pearson's R because that's the title of this slide, right? That tells you immediately that age has been captured as a continuous variable and height is continuous. Two continuous variables. The coefficient you're using is Pearson's. To determine if an association exists between blood glucose levels and minutes of exercise. Again, blood glucose levels and minutes of exercise are both continuous variables. Pearson's R. To determine if a relationship exists between ACT score and hours of study. Again, two continuous variables, Pearson's R. If you want to, you can stop right now and stop the video now and write your own study objective that uses two continuous variables. Okay, now let's look at Spearman's row. And we're going to use Spearman's row as ordinal and continuous. So that's what the O and the C means, right? We've got 3 examples here. What I want you to do is stop the video and identify in each one of these examples which variable is the ordinal variable. So stop the video now. All right, did you come up with grading scale classification, A, B, C, D, F, degree level, high school, bachelor's, master's, PhD, grading scale classification, A, B, C, D, F, as your ordinal variables? So if those were the things that you identified as ordinal, A+, you got that right. And again, this is just the wording that you would use for this part of the study objective to indicate the relationship between an ordinal and a continuous variable, and to suggest which correlation coefficient to use. And I guess to be clear on that, so you get a suggestion of it from your study objective, right? A suggestion of which correlation coefficient should be used, but you don't actually articulate that until you get to the data analysis section of your methods. So make sure that when you read the objective, you're clear on what kinds of variables you have in the objective. That way, when you get to your data analysis section, it is so much easier to write because you were very clear that I've got 2 variables here and they are these 2 kinds of variables, dichotomous, ordinal, continuous. You'll notice I'm kind of steering away from the nominal right now. That's just a question to take up another day. And so much of this is, we could do eta squared and we will do eta squared maybe later in some of the other lessons, but it's just not part of today's lesson. We're just focusing on the 3. We'll move along. All right, so then the next couple of examples shows you could use either Spearman's row or Kendall's tau because you have 2 variables that are both ordinal. So in the first study objective example, you've got disease severity and body mass index. And then in the second example, you've got education level and socioeconomic status. So here's examples of what makes this ordinal. Disease severity classified as mild, moderate, and severe. Body mass index classified as low, medium, and high. Education level, high school, bachelor's, master's, PhD. And then socioeconomic status, low, medium, and high. So that gives you some examples of how you might think about ordinal variables. And then you can choose either Spearman's Rule or Kendall's Tau for that analysis. Phi. Remember, that's the one where you've got two dichotomous variables. So participation and gender. Participation, did you participate in FFA in high school? It's a yes or no question. Gender, male, female. Is there an association between smoking and drinking? So the question would be, do you smoke? Yes or no. Do you drink? Yes or no. And so is there an association between those two variables? In the next example, we're looking at rank by serial. And if you follow your chart again, remember rank by serial is a dichotomous variable and an ordinal variable. If you look at these 4 examples, which variable is your dichotomous variable? If you chose gender and having children, yes, no, as your dichotomous variables, you got it correct. Point by serial, remember that's the one where we've got dichotomous and continuous as our 2 variables. And the dichotomous variable is discrete, yes, no, male, female, true, false, those kinds of dichotomous discrete variables. Look at the examples here and decide again which variables are, let's go again. Which ones are dichotomous? Obviously, I collected age again as a continuous variable, right? So participation, yes, no. Graduation, yes, no. 4-H alumni status, yes, no. All of those are your discrete dichotomous variables. Again, when you do a relationship between those discrete dichotomous variables and the other continuous variable, your correlation coefficient is going to be point by serial. So I know by this point you're probably getting really, really tired of study objectives, but I do encourage you to spend some time with these, because on the test, study objectives, you could be asked to write a study objective for 2 types of variables. You could be asked to identify which study objective is incorrect. I mean, there's several different ways I could put that on the test. So make sure that you give some time to this and pay attention. It'll help you when you get to test time. All right, by serial. Remember, you have to have a continuous dichotomous variable. All right, so look at these 2. Which 2 variables are your continuous dichotomous variables? If you chose blood pressure and weight, you were correct. Obviously, we have excluded normal blood pressure and normal weight to make that dichotomous, right? Good deal.